Our speaker today is Kristen Auerbach. Kristen is the director of Pima Animal Care Center and a thought leader in the animal welfare industry. We're so excited to have her here today, where she'll be talking about marketing your long-stay shelter pets to help them find homes. Kristen, thanks for joining us. It's to you
Hey,
now.
Em.
Hmm.
Thank you. Kelly, can you guys tell me if you can hear us? Can you give me like a thumbs up if you can hear us and see us? Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. Hi, everyone, and hi to Maddie's Fund Apprenticeship group. We're so excited that you could join today, and thrilled that another foster apprenticeship is happening in Charlottesville. I'm going to talk really briefly about marketing long-stay shelter pets. Before I get started, I just want to say that we decided, Maddie's Fund encouraged us to stop putting any barriers to our thought about what foster could accomplish. And they said, what if foster were really sky's the limit and you could do anything? And we've approached foster with that mindset. And I'm proud to announce that so far this year, we've sent 4,200 shelter pets from our municipal shelter to foster homes. So that's far exceeding any record that a muni shelter has done. And we're going for 5,000 this year. One of the biggest challenges, there's me, that's my dog Otter. Okay, so one of the biggest challenges we have in sheltering right now is that everybody's stopping killing animals and they're not focused enough on outcomes. And it's a huge problem. It's something we're going to be talking about as a nation, I think, as we stop this indiscriminate killing, but we don't focus enough on getting animals out quickly. We're going to have a problem of bottlenecking in the shelter. And this is where you get accusations of warehousing and holding animals too long and humane concerns around capacity for care. So I'm really focused at this point in my career on outcomes and getting animals out faster. If you haven't read this article, please do. I've written a lot of stuff. Most of it I would never tell you to read. This one I wish everyone working in the field would read. If you read nothing else I've ever written, and it will take you 5 minutes. And it's about, it's under Animal Farm Foundation. You can just Google Marketing is Non-Adoption Counseling Animal Farm Foundation, it'll pop up. But this article really, once you read it, you'll realize how many barriers you're building into your marketing of your longer stay animals. And I don't care who you are sitting in that room, I will promise you, you are building barriers into your marketing. And so this kind of tackles some of that and explains how to separate the marketing from the adoption counseling process, because they're really two totally separate processes we shouldn't be mixing in. I am not covering that in today's very brief presentation, so please check out that article. It probably is in your binder for the apprentices. Okay, so I'm going to give you 6 really quick rules, and I'm going to talk fast. You need to treat your long stay pets just like you treat medically urgent pets. So you wouldn't let a medically urgent pet sit in the shelter for 6 months while you decided how you were treating it. Once those pets hit that long stay list, you need to treat them as urgent and invest additional resources into them. This was a cat who had been in our shelter for 8 months. And it was my very first week at PAC. I saw this cat and thought, how is such a cat that's this like such a hottie? She's like so pretty and she's got that like badass ear tip. And she was super grumpy, yes, but still, why was she sitting in the shelter? So we put her on social media. We let people know she had waited 8 months and that she was in a really bad mood because of that. And the next day she is home. And this cat, who hadn't let anyone touch her in 8 months, is being petted and cuddled by her new foster/rescue mom. And that's how quickly it happens. We have to tell people that these animals are urgent. They don't know otherwise. And that gorgeous girl is now in a home. Okay, so your volunteers like fall in love with certain dogs or cats. This happens all the time, and they don't know what to do to help. And this is the easiest thing you can do. Let your volunteers make these things for your kennel. So these are junky Word docs with one picture copied and pasted in. And the rule is you get one headline, You get one picture, and the picture cannot show the animal in total isolation. So the animal has to be shown with a toy, with a person, with another pet. You should get one photo of the animal, not in their kennel, and then you get one story about the animal. You can't try to sum up the animal's whole personality. You just get to tell one story. So we give this to our volunteers. We challenge them to do this, and then we laminate the things and stick them on the kennel, and those dogs fly out the door. When you get an urgent dog, let your volunteers and staff make these, and it will help the animals get adopted so much faster. I've gone to the point of making cards that say, like, stop walking, look in my kennel. And people really do. They listen to that stuff. So these are a couple of examples that I made when I worked in Austin. And these dogs both got adopted because of these kennel cards, both long stay dogs who really needed some special attention. You have to monitor these cards because your volunteers will slip barriers into them. But they're a great tool. Get the stop signs out of your marketing. So this dog was like very junky and dirty looking, and she stared at us like she like had a lobotomy, and we were really not sure like what her deal was. Like, is it a hard stare? What's going on with her? Her name was Cowgirl. Had we evaluated her in the kennel, honestly, she probably would have died because she was like low growling and kind of like blank staring at us. And it would have been really easy just to write her off or to let her sit for a few weeks. Instead, we asked a volunteer to try to work with her, and that volunteer got her out, and in 5 minutes out of her kennel, we went from this facial expression to this facial expression. So what did we do with that? We didn't just share this photo, because this is a good photo, but this dog can get passed by. We shared both, and we told the story about how 5 minutes with a volunteer took her from this to this. That story, that trajectory mattered. That made the national news. It turned into an article, I think, on Bark Post that got hundreds of thousands of views. This was one of our most popular stories ever. Cowgirl got a home right away. And so it's important to get them out of their kennel. And that ended up really telling a bunch of different stories. It talked about the importance of volunteers, the importance of not evaluating animals in kennels, but ultimately it got the dog out. Okay, number 5. The picture on the right is a dog who was sort of a behavior dog, like jumpy mouthy, had no manners. He would have been a really hard adoption had we not pulled him out of the situation you see on the other side of the screen, which is how we found him hanging from a tree, barely able to lay down without choking. He wasn't able to lay down without choking himself, starving to death with no care. He was a cruelty case that ended up in our shelter for a couple of months, developed some behavioral challenges, probably as a result of this abuse. And we found this photo and we used it to tell his whole story. You hear all the time, we should only be telling the happy stories and people don't want to feel sad. And I feel strongly that that is not true. People want to know what is really happening. They want full transparency. They want to know these animals' stories, and we're the only people that can tell them. And so even though the picture on the right is really happy, it was important for us to show the picture on the left so that people could relate to this dog and sympathize and want to help save him. And he got a home because of it. And so it's important, whether the story is really tragic or the story is really wonderful and happy, that you're honest about whatever that story is for that animal. And that might be the most important thing I'm going to say today. So if you're only going to remember one thing out of this very quick talk, it's to tell the animal stories because they can't tell them themselves. Number 6, which is the last one, which is show animals with people and things. Stop showing your animals in isolation. Stop showing them like in a blank field with nothing around them. No one relates to that. Put them anywhere. Put them in your office. Put them like take them to a park. Put them on a bench. Show them in ways that help people relate to them. Even show them in their kennel. That's something. But these decontextualized photos I keep seeing, I think somewhat are a result of when amazing groups started to tell us we needed to get better photos of animals. Initially, a lot of those photos were like these studio portraits that works really well, especially when you have a high quality photographer, but we don't want to isolate the pets from real life. And it is, if you can find a kid to get photos with your long stay pets, that will get them adopted faster than anything. This guy was in foster at the time, but he was in foster, I think Kelly will remember, and she can tell her group more about it, but he was in foster with a couple people. And if I remember, he really loved the kids in all the home. And I think we did like several different kids in costumes. This was a separation anxiety dog, and who ended up getting adopted into a really wonderful home. But we wouldn't have gotten him adopted had we not utilized photos like this, had we just shown him in isolation. In isolation, he's just another plain brown dog with separation anxiety. Who the hell's gonna take that home? But in this photo, he's this like loving, amazing, like, you can see, I think if we asked you what word you see in his face, we'd all have different things to say. I would say hope. And people need to connect that way to the animals in order to adopt them, especially your plain brown, black, brindle dogs. They need to connect to them, and you have to help them with that through your marketing.